of Wired for Wellness. So excited to be here with you guys again today, carrying on from our conversation for last week. Again, for those of you guys joining, welcome. Wired for Wellness, week number, I think 9 or 10 that we're on now, which is pretty exciting to think that we've been doing so many for so long. And this is just going to carry on a continuation of our conversation from last week. So if you remember last week, our homework was all about noting, okay, taking note of what kind of emotions you're experiencing, what kind of emotions you're feeling, and really dialing into what it is that you experience and being aware of how that affects your mood or affects your energy, right? So that we know if, for example, that we feel this emotion in the morning, somebody cuts us off when we're driving to work and we feel this anger, this frustration, how long is it actually carrying with us? Do we carry it with us the whole day, or does it actually get a little bit better as we go? And so what were some common emotions that came up? I'd love to hear from you guys. Go ahead and throw your comments down below. What kind of common experiences did you come up with? Because today's conversation, what we're going to be talking about is the 5 core emotions. And so there's going to be a list that I'll post in the group after of probably about 25 or 30 different emotions, which we'll get into a little bit in a second as well. But all of them kind of fall into 5 categories of different emotions. And so just curious to see which ones came up for you guys. So go ahead and throw that in the comment below. Which one of the core emotions maybe did you experience during the week when you're doing your noting last week? Which one did you come up with? And so for those of you just joining, again, welcome back. Wired for Wellness week number 9, I believe we're on, and jumping into the 5 core emotions to build on the lesson we learned about last week, talking about emotional intelligence, and noting when you experience something. So this one's going to be a little bit different because I'm, again, live on a couple different platforms here. We got YouTube, Facebook, and as well, we have Instagram Live. So Instagram Live, I believe, doesn't allow me to do a screen share. So if you go and look on the Instagram page, if you're following us there will be the post with the slides that we're going through. And for those of you following along on the other ones, there should be an opportunity to see some slides, which should be really cool today. I'm looking forward to sharing that with you guys. So let's get going here. We have an opportunity to show another page, I thought, but that's not going to work. Okay, we're just going to fly with it today. Everybody's going to get to hear it as we talk along, and I'll figure that out for next week. So the 5 core emotions, can you name them? Do you know what they are? Here's your opportunity to shine. Number 1 is anger. Okay, very, very common. I think if any of us were doing noting last week, chances are at some point we felt anger, whether it was something partner, friend, coworker, child, random person driving down the street did to us. We're probably frustrated or angry at something at some point. And so the idea, as what I'm going to share with you guys, is the core emotion, and then also kind of the things that it made signal to you, because that's really important to appreciate as well. So if you're feeling angry, potentially maybe a boundary needs to be set or an existing one has been violated. So maybe a sign that it's time to let something go. Those are kind of your big signals. So if you're feeling angry that somebody cut you off, then probably you feel very strongly about having a certain amount of space between you and the person in front of you. And that person kind of violated that boundary by cutting in really tightly in front of you, right? And so that's all it is. In the case of the car driving example, we're not going to get the chance to pull that person over and talk to them and have a conversation about leaving adequate space in front of your car. But so hopefully that makes sense, because again, if it happens maybe with somebody that you know a little bit better, a friend, family member, partner, whatever it may be, then you can kind of think to yourself, okay, like what is it that's making me angry? What boundary do I need to set for myself perhaps, or what boundary has been violated by this person that I need to be aware of to help maybe minimize this friction going forward in the future. So number 1 is anger. Number 2 is joy. Again, so this one should hopefully be pretty intuitive, because again, hopefully you guys felt a little bit of this last week when you were noting as well. Joy is just clearly the feeling that something needs to be celebrated, appreciated, and or laughed at. So don't hesitate to acknowledge people's great work, whatever it is. So if somebody's doing something that's really positive and really uplifting, then make sure you notice that and acknowledge that for the person, whether that's at work, whether that's at home. This one's pretty straightforward. I think we all know when we're feeling joy and happiness and what's causing that, because generally it's a good thing, right? A lot of times it's the negative emotions that we question a little bit more. So let's not spend too much time on this one, and let's keep rolling. Core emotion number 3 being fear. So this is something important, needs to be learned. Fear invites your full attention and your presence. And again, that kind of makes sense, right? Like if, you're watching a scary movie or something and the person's about to go down into the basement, like you're there, you're on the edge of your seat, you're watching, you're feeling really anxious, really nervous for them. You're paying attention to what's going on. Your heart's beating, your eyes dilate. Like all the natural responses to fear are exactly that. Something needs your full attention and presence. Now, in real life, chances are we're not getting chased by a tiger, or we're not going down into a scary basement of a horror film in real life. What are we doing? Why are we afraid? Some things happen to us that we're uncertain about, or maybe that there's a challenge that we're not sure we can overcome, right? Like if somebody calls us and gives us a problem that we can easily solve, like for example, somebody calls the massage clinic and says, "Hey, I need some help with this shoulder problem." Great, no problem. Come in, we can help you out. Somebody calls and says, "Hey, I need some help getting my mortgage figured out." If you're coming to me, that might be problematic. I don't really know a whole lot about mortgages, and I may likely probably not be able to help you. How's that for clarity? May likely not be able to, but you get the idea, right? Is there's things that in life that you don't have a lot of confidence about yet. Perhaps maybe it's something that you will learn, but fear a lot of times just in inviting your presence and making sure that you're aware of what's going on. So it could be a physical thing, like if there's a storm or whatever, and that makes sense, and that's kind of your basic old survival instincts. But if it's something at work, then that's I think just a clear indication that there's something that's fearful because there's something that needs to be learned. There's something more that's more challenging than maybe you think you can handle. And so that's important to either make sure that we're taking the time to ask for help or ask for clarification, or make sure that we have everything we need to be successful if we're going to step into an opportunity that might be challenging or might be a little scary, might be a little fear inducing. Number 3. All right. So moving on to number 4 is sadness. Something once meaningful is going away, which could be a person, it could be an opportunity, a belief, or a dream. And so again, this one probably a little bit straightforward, right? The fear and the anger maybe a little bit interesting, but sadness is pretty straightforward, just with joy. If there's a friend of yours that's moving away, family member passes away, or you thought you had a really good interview for this job opportunity, and then they call you back and say you didn't get it. What do you feel? Sad, right? And so this one's important. I think a lot of times we try and hide from our sadness. And so this is with all of these emotions, the important thing, and the reason why we practiced noting last week, is making sure that we can feel the emotions and understand which ones are coming up, right? So we can be more aware of what actions we need to take. And so sadness is something we'll kind of bury, right? If we're feeling joy and happiness, that's great. We'll really live that. But if it's sad, then it's kind of something we try to ignore and run away from. And it's really important, I think, to lean into any emotion that you're feeling and kind of feel where it occurs in your body. That's why it's called, emotions are called feelings. We feel them physically in our body, and just kind of sit and see kind of where that feeling is coming from, what's causing the sadness. And if you can pinpoint it, then just kind of sit with that and let whatever emotions kind of come through your body happen, right? Versus kind of burying it and hiding away from it. So sadness, I think, is probably an important one that we shy away from, myself included. But the importance of emotional intelligence is being aware of your emotions and being with your emotions. So that's what we're focusing on, what we're highlighting this month. And last one, creative energy. And so this one is just letting your ideas and innovations flow. So again, a lot of times, creative energies are weird, abstract, kooky ideas occasionally, right? So if depending on the group and whether or not you feel comfortable with them and whether you trust them or not, you may or may not let these emotions out. So ideally, hopefully, you're in a situation, whether it's at work, whether it's at home, where you're able to kind of, let your freak flag fly, if you can say that 10 times fast, but just be out there and be yourself and be comfortable, right? So if you have an idea, you feel comfortable sharing it, even if it's totally ridiculous and totally goofy, you're willing to put that idea out there. Or if you have an opinion about how something's happening at work or how the garbage is being taken out of home, that you feel comfortable sharing that idea, right? Because again, this is a really easy one to kind of just suppress and bury because you don't think that people are going to accept it or people are going to enjoy it, and you let it go. So having that trust and open communication with the people immediately in your life to be able to share creative energy is pretty exciting. So there you go. Any surprises? Anything you didn't expect? Anger, joy, fear, sadness, and creative energy are the 5 main emotions. So really quickly to wrap this up, it's fantastically interesting, I think, because this is something that I personally struggled with growing up as an introvert, is this idea of having this emotional intelligence. Because a lot of times for myself, and this is what research has shown, is that when you poll adults and ask them how many different types of emotions they can name, the average is 3, right? Fear, sad, joy. That's it. You're either angry, you're fearful, you're sad, or you're happy. Those are your 3 emotions that the average human can name. Like I said, I'm going to post a list in the Facebook group of about 30 different emotions that researchers feel is adequate or sufficient to have a robust emotional intelligence to be able to properly vocalize and express the feelings that you're experiencing, physical sensations you're experiencing in your body with different events and different experiences. So pretty big contrast. You're missing about 90% of the emotional clarity that we need to express ourselves in a meaningful way. And but again, all of those extra 25, 30 emotions kind of fall into this big 5. So starting with the big 5 is a good step. Get familiar with those. Like I said, we'll put the post up in all the different social media so you can get access to it. So now when you're noting, trying to pay attention, see which of the big 5 your feelings or emotions fall into. And then we'll jump in next week to some more clarity on taking advantage of maybe some of those more obscure emotions and what they maybe feel like in the body, and getting better at recognizing some of those as well, and some strategies for how to communicate what you're feeling with others when you're feeling a little overwhelmed or a little sad or stressed. So there you go. Again, happy Wednesday, all of you. Thank you for tuning in. Pleasure hanging out with you guys. Hopefully that was fun. Looking forward to seeing you guys again next week, 2:00 Wednesday every time. And like I said, head over to the Facebook group or the Instagram page to check out the list of the 5 core emotions. I'll have a post up there for you guys so you can have a takeaway from the presentation today. So